seekers of the universe and every place that's not completely freezing. How are you today? I'm pretty well. I've been working on this quilt piece, which I'm kind of excited about, right? And anyhow, I've been having fun doing that. It's part of my Stetson Cross pattern. If you're at all interested, the pattern is available, quiltingcowboy.com. Just hit on the shop tab. All of my patterns are there, and they all come with a tutorial so you can follow along while I make it if I'm not completely freezing. Oh my god, it's so cold, and I don't know why I don't have a shirt on. Just didn't quite happen yet today. Well, actually, like, true story, I just got stuck in a snowbank, like, legitimately. It is so wintry here. Let me show you a little video here of what I was driving through, which was completely nuts, but we probably got at least 12 inches of snow last night. Anyhow, huge snowstorm. I shouldn't be going out, and it is completely freezing here. Anyhow, we're back. I hope everybody is well. I had to have a couple days off in order to really evaluate like what I'm doing here based off of the feedback of a few people that I really admire. And so, because I work alone and kind of in a vacuum here, like, I just need to check in with others as I go through this process just to make sure that I'm not, well, we all know I'm nuts, but that I haven't, spun off into some kind of, how those people, they end up in some kind of conspiracy theory territory because they haven't really checked in with reality. And so I myself just always want to make sure that what I'm doing here is actually what I think I'm doing, right? And it hasn't gone off into some, crazy place. And so I reached out to some people, and my friend Scott Holman and my other friend Tobias were kind enough, along with, I probably put this in front of about 20 people. And so I was getting, a lot of different feedback, but, Scott and Tobias were really instrumental in helping me see where I am versus what other people are doing in this world, and where do I want to position myself, right? Because I don't want to be, and a lot of the comments were like, wow, you come across as kind of angry, which I get, because, yeah, often just as we've talked about, there's just a lot of things in my life that I find very, very frustrating, right? And especially, my relationship with my families and, things like that. And anyhow, I just wanted to make sure that what I'm delivering here is good content, is loving content, has you in mind, right? And that isn't based on me and my angst and, everything else like this. That is just not, me getting up and ranting for, 20 minutes, a half an hour every day. That's not going to be helpful, right? And that's not going to be the celebration in what we're here to do, which is to learn how to live a better life and celebrate each other and the way that we live our lives and provide you with, some things that I have discovered that really are helpful for me. Right? So I needed those couple of days to kind of really sit with that, right? With some really good constructive criticism to see what they're saying. Because this is the part about, we were talking about the difference between being self-centered and centered in self, right? When you're centered in self, right? And I believe that what I'm doing here, right, is loving, is coming from the right place. But, there's always that check that you need to do to figure out if that is, if you're actually accomplishing the goal or not, right? And so given those couple of days, I think what I ultimately came up with is that, yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are doing, the loving spiritual thing. And I always thought that my lane would be more of, delivering spirituality with teeth, right? Spirituality for those people who are just really fed up, who have had enough, right? Because my approach to spirituality always has had a really good, strong, dose of go fuck yourself. And I still believe that there's a place for that in the way that we interact with others, in the way that we shut down bigotry, in the way that we deal with, just haters in this world. And, there's a lot of different thought forms of how to deal with that, And I've just never been anybody's doormat, and so I've had to evaluate, is that approach to spirituality loving and uplifting to you, right? The people that I, have on Team Dale, right? Or is that destructive? Right? Because some people thought that it kind of was, and that wasn't helpful. In fact, some people thought it, they were like, that's not spirituality. And to me, again, like we've talked about many times, only having access to yes and never having access to a no, said from a spiritual place, isn't balance. And my hope is that in here, again, it's totally up to you. Spirituality being a journey for one, right? A journey for you, where I can maybe say, hey, this is what's worked for me. And if that works for you, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. Right? The other part I had to really assess was how I'm languaging things. I just want to always be clear that what I'm saying up here isn't this is the way it is. I'm saying this has been my experience. Feel free to prove me wrong. Right? Especially as it relates to bigotry or communities of faith, and my opinion on those, because my opinion is based on my experience, which is very narrow, right? I mean, I've only lived my life. I haven't lived all of your lives, right? Which is just not capable. So I'm saying this has been my experience with these people, with communities of faith. Prove me wrong. Show me the love, right? Because I think we should be all on the same side. And that's part of what's always confused me, like genuinely. Like, why aren't the Christians on my side? The side of love. The side that says, we're all in here together. We're all here to help each other, right? Not belong to organizations that openly seek to harm your fellow humans. That just, it genuinely confuses me why Christians aren't on the side of love. Look at their, receipts. Look at their history. Are they leading the charge when it comes to women's rights, gay rights, racial issues? No, for the most part, they are not leading on any of those issues. They are not leading from love on those issues. Their misogyny, their homophobia, right? Their racism. At some point, we kind of need to start calling that out because, the receipts are all there. Show me where communities of faith are leading on these issues, on civil rights, on making the lives of others who are different from them better. I've never seen it. I've never seen a Mormon community leading on issues of race, or sexual orientation, or any other way that humans are different from them. Show me where they're leading on that. Because I can show you the court documents where they went in and fought for the legal marrying age to be kept at 12, so they could continue to marry 12-year-old girls off to old men. I have those receipts. What receipts do you have that say that these people are any good, or doing anything healthy or helpful to their fellow humans other than to themselves? Oh, they're really good at self-dealing. They're really good at protecting their own. They're really good at maintaining their supremacy of being white. Did you catch that? Because I meant it. Show me where they are including more people, right? So I get that some people say, oh, you're coming across as really angry. Because I'm fed up, right? Done, fed up, done, right? But that's not why we're here, ultimately. And if you go back and watch my original videos, one of my strong points was, we don't talk about what we don't want. And what do? I get up here and I talk about what I don't like and what I don't want, right? That's just the way we function as humans, right? We are obsessed with what we don't want and what we don't like. And so we talk about it all the time. And so we get more of the same, right? I am a terrible example. Right? But I also recognize that that's where the work is for me. right? That there's real work there for me to be doing, but I also want to be up here explaining some of that so you don't understand. So you do understand that I am not a person who's angry. I'm a person who's hurt. Okay? I want to understand why my family was taught in their churches to hate me. I want to understand why I've lived a life where my mother has told me that if she had known that I would be the result of her having children, that she wouldn't have bothered. I want to know why my brother keeps his kids away from me and why I can't have a relationship with them. That he feels that he needs to protect his children from me. From me. So, if I ever come across as angry, it's not anger. It's hurt. Right? I want to know why my life has been so much tougher because I was born under the queer spectrum. You know, and I just want to make that better because I'm highly motivated to come in here and change things, not for myself, but for the next generation, so that they don't have to carry these scars and be so wounded by family members who are just Christian and punitive and judgmental around that, right? Because I suffer and struggle with extreme PTSD around these issues, right? So sometimes when I light up and go from 0 to 60 in half a second, right? And I get triggered by that stuff that I've the difference between a memory and things that happened in the past and PTSD is this. When you have a normal experience, your brain captures it, and with time, it dissipates into the distance, right? And its experience becomes less clear. But when you have PTSD, those things don't fade off into the distance and disappear and become less of an experience. PTSD is defined as experiences, that live in the now and always live in the now as disruptive and physical sensations and reactions that will always be experienced in the present, like they're happening now, not like they happened in the past, right? So the trigger is the exact moment of when you experience the trauma, not something of that happened in the past. It's happening now, right? And that's something you have to learn to deal with and cope, because when you do get triggered, I mean, it's like the reaction is just off the charts, you know, because it's just, you know, it's like you're living it all over again, you know. So have patience with me. I know I still have a lot of work to do there, and it's not okay for me to come in here and dump on you and trigger you because I'm triggered, right? I don't want to send that stuff downstream. That's the biggest thing I got out of this little break that I took these last couple days. I need to be more careful of what I'm sending downstream so that I'm not triggering you when I'm triggered. I don't want to do that. I don't want to bring more of that energy into the world. You don't need to know about that. Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit, but I need to be more mindful that I'm here for you. You're not here for me, right? And that I'm here to serve you and your needs and your mental health, right? So I apologize for the times that I have maybe triggered you, right? Because I was triggered. So, you know, I apologize for that, and I'm going to be very mindful moving forward to bring less of that garbage in here. Because that's not what we're here to do, right? We're here to create love and joy in our lives and to live better lives and to focus on what we want and the good things and celebrate life, right? But I'm also a very, very damaged human. And as part of that, I'm not perfect. So just be patient with me, okay? And I apologize, I won't be doing that moving forward, okay? We're not going to be, taking on, our Christian family members in that way. Not to say that I won't discuss it, because it's a very important topic. If we're going to actually, shift things here on the planet, that's a major topic that needs to shift. Right? We have to get the bigotry and hate out of our religions. Like, can we just start there? Like, please? Right? Anyhow, I had the opportunity to go and see Kristen Chenoweth in concert, and that was super fun. And my husband and I had a great date night. We went to go see her. But let me tell you, she's a Christian who gives me hope. Oh my gosh, it was so exciting, because she was up there and she was talking about her faith and how important that is to her. But she led with, I'm here for everyone, especially gay people. She led with, I'm pro-LGBT. I will always be an ally. She led with that because she knows that she lives in a Christian world where the majority of people don't see that as something that you would want to get on board with, right? And maybe that's changing. I hope it is. But, she was so open and loving and compassionate. It was the first time in my entire life I've seen a Christian language herself like that. I was like, oh, awesome. That gives me hope. And so I really, really appreciated just her take on things, right? And I was like, by the end of it, I was like, I would go to church with that woman. And my husband was like, you would? Well, baby steps. Because I genuinely, when I'm at the doorstep of a church, I start to panic. Legitimately. I do not feel safe in any way near a church or near Christians. I've never, ever, ever felt safe around them. And even the ones who are languaging, oh, they want to come to my wedding and they want to be involved in my life with John, they go and then belong to organizations that are openly bigoted against gay people, right? And they do stuff that always reminds me that my family's not quite up to snuff. I don't feel safe around that. No way, right? So, we are going to be doing some exciting things moving forward. Let's leave that in the past, right? Let's do some fun things, right? Let's focus on where we're going and focus on what we want, not what we don't want. Right? I'm so dumb. I know that. I know the first rule of manifesting anything is to stop talking about what you don't want. Anyways, I really want to be a writer. I really do. And I feel like I don't say that enough. I am so excited about my books. I just had another meeting with my writing coach, right? And, it's so much slower going than I want, but we're getting there, and I just got to let it take time, right? So we're going to focus on what we want to manifest in our lives, how we can have a better sense of joy, right? I don't have my joy button on today, but I didn't even get a shirt on. And how we can, do that for ourselves, but also where we're ultimately going is really exciting for me in terms of being nobody's doormat, right? A spiritual approach that still has some teeth, that still has the ability to say, right? You are crossing a boundary, right? We'll be doing boundaries next time. But I also wanted to share this quilt with you, which has an interesting story. This quilt, it was one of my more popular quilts. It's been in a whole bunch of shows, and it's called Blue Palms. It's an art quilt again, and you can see the two palms that are kind of going like this, right, with their hands, and releasing these things, these little circle things. It's called a Dresden plate. And it's a fun thing to make, and I took a class on Dresden plates, and then I got home with these like stupid Dresden plates, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Like, I am not a Dresden plate quilt kind of guy. So anyways, this is how I ultimately ended up using them from that class that I took. So I have these Dresden plates that are kind of spinning, right? And the hands are going like this and releasing almost like these spores, right, out into the universe. And I made this one when I found a friend of mine murdered in one of my investment properties. So, like, again, getting back to that, like, oh, I have really lived. There was a time in my life where I was a major part of an investigation that put this guy who murdered my friend away, hopefully for the rest of his life. Because it was the second time he'd done it and preyed on older people. Anyhow, that's another whole story. I could tell you about that. But if you ever want to learn about it, just Google the high school pen pal murder that happened in Hollywood, and there was a long show. There was a TV show that they put out on as well, where I was one of the main people on the TV show talking about the murder, and because I was the key witness to put this guy away. Anyhow, it was difficult. It was very, very difficult, especially the part where I'm on the stand and they're showing up on the screen, which is like 10 feet tall, like the images of my friend's dead body, and asking me questions like while they're showing these images. Like, I thought I was going to lose my mind. That was, I think, one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. It was crazy, because the guy who killed my friend was there in the courtroom, and so I'm like seeing him. I'm seeing these images of my friend's body, which were graphic in nature, and then having to address both prosecutors and deal with like the jury box that's just full of people, and try and hold myself together. Like, when I left that experience, like, I was not okay for a while, and that was really, really tough. But, that's just part of life, I guess. Anyways, his name is Harry Major, and he actually is becomes one of the main characters in my second book of the trilogy. And anyhow, I made this quilt for him, just kind of as a memory to, our friendship, and to kind of bring into this plane the release, right, that I wanted to give his spirit as he moved on. Now that I'm more involved with shamanism and have some skills, in the psychopomp world, I can certainly do that for him now. But back then, this is what I had, right? As a quilter, that's what I made. Anyways, I hope you like this piece. Again, it's called Blue Palms. It was in the Ontario Museum of History and Art. It's got some, street cred, so I'm pretty proud of this one. Anyways, I hope that you like it. I just wanted to check in here today and kind of explain the press pause moment that I was having, and where we are now, and where we're going to be going. Next time, we'll talk more about setting boundaries, healthy ways to do that. Because when we set boundaries, like, we don't want to be super caustic. That's the word. That took me a second. In the way that we set boundaries, unless you do. Full disclosure, I truly enjoy being a bit of a dick. I do. I'm like, no, you're terrible, and I don't like you at all. Oh, and by the way, you smell. Like, there's certain satisfaction, egoically, that I get from just kind of telling people off, right? As you've witnessed, like, I'm nobody's doormat. And that's just, I don't know. It's maybe not the healthiest way to live, but it makes me laugh. So there's that. Anyways, enough for me. I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.